Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, grab your drink of choice, your beverage of choice. Don't forget the Kool-Aids for the kids. A glass of wine would be good. Maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Hmm? Call your neighbor, call your friends, call your auntie, call your nenen, call your mama and your papa, your nieces and nephews, your grandmama and your grandpapa, and let them know that Simon Says is on. Buckle your seatbelts. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, lots have happened, huh? Lots have happened over the past few days. It's making you dizzy. Grenada is facing a triple hit from the US, a fishing ban. The government has submitted the relevant documents, so they say. Though late, right on the wire, we await a response from the US as to our fate on that matter. That's the fishing ban. If it would, if we'd be able to ship our fish to the US, um, our only market, huge market, really. And you hear all sorts of things, statements come out there. We could say we could fish to Africa, and we could fish to Canada, and we could send fish to where and where. All talk with no action because there's no plan in place for if the US does not lift their ban. We're coming to the end of January. These fisher folks have their families to take care of, their bills to pay, their kids to send to school. And so they need to know something, what is happening. So let's take a positive outlook on it and hope 10 fingers, 10 toes crossed, and hope that the ban is lifted, that everything is in place, and that the ban is lifted. Now we have also a travel advisory warning that came out. Let me get my glasses here. Can't play cute all the time, when it comes down to those small prints. Cuteness done, right? And it says breaking. The State Department issues heightened travel warning for American citizens traveling to Grenada. The advisory says in part, violent crime can occur anywhere in Grenada. American citizens in Grenada have been victims of armed robbery, assault, burglary, and rape in some cases. American citizens have been killed. Police response times are not as fast as one may expect in the United States. Further to that, and it was on Fox News, and it says trouble in paradise. The State Department raised its advisory for Grenada over violent crime risk, urging travelers to stay alert, avoid resisting robberies, and expect slower police response times. Now, we've heard Grenada is one of the safest countries in the world. Only 10 murders or we had for 2025, or homicides we had for 2025. And it's going on and it's going on. That's not the point, though. Nowhere, I mean, they said Americans were killed, and that's a fact, right? I think we're forgetting, you know, that more than a few, and we had couples killed, single Americans were killed. And I don't want to hear, oh, how much just die in a minute in America? How much just die in a day in Jamaica? How much just die in a day in Trinidad or in an hour? Grenada is ours. We're talking about Grenada. Let's see how we can help and make a difference there, because what they say, it's a fact, right? Per capita, these huge countries, you may not even hear of some of the robberies and burglaries and all of that, right? It's happening, yes, but we're talking about in Grenada. If the students are being robbed, are being raped, they're Americans. Some of them, I've heard of stories that happened here in Grenada. The students did not even report it. They reported it to the embassy, but they did not report it to the police. What did they do? They packed their bags and left and went home, never to return. The ladies, when they get raped, and the this is 2026, and we have to stop. We have to stop the mountain on but what the US and what Trump could do and what Trump can do and what, and we could go elsewhere and we could do elsewhere and we could, well, so do it. We could go on vacation, so go on vacation elsewhere. And you don't have to say it. You just go elsewhere. Where you going? Africa? Hmm? You can afford to go to Europe? Then go to Europe, right? You know, in the US, that's where everybody has somebody that they can bunk by, even if it's on the couch, right? So let's not let's not take this thing to that level. And the authorities, the IGPF, the government, let's deal with it professionally, right? They say so, they say so. It's all kind of reasons why we think they say so. So let's hope for the fisher folks' sake that we get the ban lifted. Let's try and deal with the crime. You see, we had stringent measures, right? We passed laws in the parliament. Well, we had a failed gun as amnesty in the first place, right? And then we passed laws in the parliament, very stringent laws, but that's after the fact, right? That's if that's after they used the gun, they did what they did, and you arrest them, you charge them. That's after the fact. So let's try and prevent the crimes, because the stringent measures, what we call draconian laws, is not going to prevent the crime. And we can see that, as a matter of fact, we've had a rise in violent crimes slash gun crimes over the past year, right? We had a rise. So most of us do not hear about some of these crimes, some of these attacks, right? Even on our diplomats, or even on our diplomats. The US charge there got attacked twice, as I understand it. Unless we forget, as I said, the American couple, Ralph Henry and Kathy Burndell. They were hijacked, kidnapped, and murdered by 3 escaped prisoners here in Grenada. and our Minister of National Security, who took his own good time to even speak about it, months, more than a month before he said something. And when he did, it was trivialized. We are living in the age of the World Wide Web. So let's not downplay it and throw it over our shoulders. Oh, Grenada is still the, yes, we might be, but we have to remember the size of Grenada. And so when one of that happens, it's like it's 10 or 20, right? And who it's happening to. The US citizens are reporting it. They are reporting. Let's not forget as well that the campus in St. Vincent, that was one of the reason why they shut the doors. The students were being raped and robbed and assaulted and burglarized, and right? And eventually they shut their doors. So a word to the wise. Further to that, these laws that and you know, it's a big thing that the leader of His Majesty's opposition and some opposition members, they did not agree to some of the laws. It was too stringent, as they said, and so, as I said, it is not helping. As a matter of fact, gun violence has, as I said earlier on, has risen. It has risen. The gun amnesty, the leader of His Majesty's opposition did warn that it was not enough. Let's hear what she had to say. Let's remind you what she said.
Speaker, I rise this afternoon to give my support to this bill that has been presented to this Honorable House. And I do so, Mr. Speaker, recognizing that anything that can take away or help to take away, even if it's one illegal firearm from our streets, should be supported. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I also want to make the point that we remember for many, many years, historically so, this country has been enjoying a status of one of the safest countries in the world. And Mr. Speaker, that is why I believe every Grenadian is passionate about wanting to protect that. So we ought not to take very lightly the concerns that are expressed by people from all walks of life as it relates to recent developments in this area. But I want to join, Mr. Speaker, to give tremendous credit to the Royal Grenada Police Force, all of those men and women who historically, traditionally, day and night would labor to protect this country, Mr. Speaker. They deserve to be recognized. Mr. Speaker, other organizations, so Mr. Speaker, organizations like the Grenada Gun and Rifle Association and others who have been promoting that if you're to own a firearm, it must be licensed. And that if you have one, you must be responsible in the way that you use it. So, Mr. Speaker, a lot of work has been done in the past as it relates to ensuring that we maintain the status of being a safe country in our region. Of course, we must be concerned not just with the trends that the Honorable Prime Minister and others referred to, but the fact that we are speaking more and more about regional integration, the fact that more and more steps are being taken. Mr. Speaker, I believe one presenter made the point that obviously that comes with additional risk, additional possibilities of increase in gun violence. And so, Mr. Speaker, anything that can be done, obviously must be done, should be done, to protect us now, but also in a proactive way for what possibilities lie ahead of us. So, Mr. Speaker, when I look at the bill and what is presented, and when I listen to the presentation by the Honorable Prime Minister, presenter of the bill, and I must say I recognize a shift in posture, Mr. Prime Minister, Honorable Member for St. David's. I feel very strongly and I feel far more comfortable with what I heard today as opposed to some previous statements. Meaning, Mr. Speaker, in leadership we have to accept responsibility. And so it means that whether it's the foremost responsibility of the RGPF or whoever, ultimately the responsibility lies those who lead. And so a forefront approach is always necessary, not just to allay the fears of people, not just to give hope to people, Mr. Speaker, but as it relates to what contribution, what approach are we going to take to address this. Mr. Speaker, I also heard reference to young men and the fact that looking at the statistics, it's all young men. And Mr. Speaker, that in itself is a good reminder that we ought not to be reducing any program where young men are targeted and supported to be actively, positively involved. And so I make an appeal, Mr. Speaker, this time, that any program that engages young men on the blocks, Mr. Speaker, I'm very concerned. I'm very, very, very concerned that you pass through and you are noticing that the numbers are increasing. And I say so from a matter of fact, that previous programs like the Empower program, for example, many of these young men were positively engaged during the day, reducing the possibilities and chances of negative engagements on the block. So I'm appealing that we find some way to increase those opportunities to get our young men even more engaged in a positive way. Mr. Speaker, the statistics presented earlier, and I was happy to hear those. I don't know what the intention of the presenter of the statistics were, but I always look for the smile, and I always look for what is said right after the presentation. Mr. Speaker, if we're going to imply that because we would have confiscated 30 firearms in 2023, mean that, okay, we've just started to really have achievements in this area. Mr. Speaker, it could well be that in 2023 we had a serious increase in guns on this island, which could be also the reason for the increase in confiscation. As I said, when you look back at the statistics, even when the police would have confiscated 4, they were working very hard. So I'm confident that the police has always been working very hard. And what we have to do is to view the statistics from a point of view to determine whether or not there's an increase in the supplies of guns to our island. And that is where we want to address it from. So
Yes, to prevent. Let's try and prevent. Let's try and prevent our borders. Let's do, as Minister of National Security, we need to hear more from our Prime Minister on these matters. The silence is deafening, and you hear it over and over. Kids, young people are asking, where's the Prime Minister? You've seen all this madness taking place in the Caribbean now. All the different bans and the visa restrictions and everything. I've seen every one, last one of the prime ministers, the heads that throughout the Caribbean, the clique, you know the clique, especially the bad boy clique, They all have spoken to their people. They have all spoken to their people on what is happening, what they are doing. We like stepchildren, even stepchildren. We like orphans. Like we just hear. Nobody's speaking to us. Nobody's telling us anything. Imagine since August, the U.S. is wait. Well, I don't know if the U.S. is waiting. Should I say we are waiting as a people on what the Prime Minister and his government has to say, his administration has to say about the raiders. Till now, they're still working on it. What is there to work on for 6, 7, 8 months? What? Now, as the political leader and leader of the opposition said, being responsible with your firearms, that is, if you have a firearm, whether be it's for your job, for your protection, or just for recreation. If you're a business person and you need one to protect your business and your life and everything, but you must be responsible in the way you keep it. And I stress on that because we even have cases where police officers were not responsible enough with their arm, and it got into the hands of their kids and their girlfriends, their mistresses. We had a case where a very senior officer, I think right now his position is deputy commission, Vanny Cohen, with domestic issues, and got into the hands of one of his girlfriend's mistress, right? He was under investigation when this administration came into office for that and other things, like the voice note. But all of that got swept under the rug, and he's been promoted to where he is now. He's propelled to the very top, right? In the meantime, his behavior on the job leaves a lot of questions as well. For instance, this clip here. The brand new office that he showed off and talk about we're not going back there. Being very political. Oh, everybody think it's okay. That's his private life. Not at your office. And with a junior officer. Why did they transfer the officer? Why didn't they transfer him? More recently, I believe a few days ago, I'm not sure, maybe over a week ago, we heard of the son of a senior police officer who took his weapon and ended up on the wrong side of the law. When he was arrested, the gun was not retrieved. I'm not sure if to date. I tried to find out this morning, but I didn't get through. If they have retrieved it now. So all of these things we have to put in place. We have to put in place, and this is not about who don't like Grenada. We can't fight the giants. At the end of the day, what we have to do is to put things in place so that as a nation, we don't suffer. We can't afford. We have nothing to show. We can't afford it. And all we're talking about, we could visit that place. Go on to Africa. Go on to Indonesia. Go on to Europe. Just go on, because you don't need America. Go on. And then yesterday, Wednesday, the 14th January 2026, we heard of suspended U.S. visa issuance. Now, that was the first thing that came out. Now, some say it's just immigrant visas only and not non-immigrant visas. Grenadians has been denied non-immigrant visas more than ever over the past few months. Maybe over the past 6 or so months, even probably almost a year now. Student visas, persons who had visas for all their lives, since as a baby. I know of an individual who had a visa for 30-something years. Went to get it renewed as usual and was turned down. I know of Grenadians who were not allowed to land with a valid visa, were turned back, had to catch the next flight back to Grenada. So we could stress and say, oh, people causing problems. It's not immigrant, it's not non-immigrant visas. It is being dealt with at the US Embassy in Barbados. Grenadians are being turned back. Students are not getting student visas to the US. And if they're not, they're ceasing on giving immigrant visas. Come on now. Everything we don't have to read and spell, huh? So, okay, let's say fine. The issuance, it's on the visa issuance, it's on immigrant visas. But we cannot forget the talking, the big short talking of our ministers. Our Minister of Finance, Dennis Cornwall. His visa was suspended or cancelled, rather, 5 months ago on the 19th of August 2025. And it remained cancelled to date. It remained cancelled. Let's not forget that. But we big and we bad. Listen to Minister Cornwall, our Minister of Finance, in the Parliament, as he spoke on the issue that was to do with the Cuban and the US saying that it is trafficking, human trafficking. And we got uptight and we got vexed and we puff up. Listen to him.
And I want to ask you this question of being a part of the cabinet here in Grenada. I want to ask you this question. We have heard that the U.S. intention to impose that visa restriction on all all government officials, I should say, yourself, your family included. If Grenada and all other countries do not immediately end or engage the Cuban medical professionals, what is the volume of Cuban involvement in Grenada's health? If you could answer that for me, also healthcare system, and what damage can this do to the health system here in Grenada? And if I could continue along that lines, a couple of multiple points of this question. No definite statement, I would say, has been made on the issue by your government, if I could say that, thus far, with the exception of saying thanks to the Cubans. Is your cabinet and other senior government officials willing to give up their U.S. visas, to keep Cuba healthcare professionals in Grenada system? And if not, what are the alternatives being discussed? Are there any alternatives being discussed thus far by cabinet members?
Well, I always believe that we have to put the people above one political self. And in that sense, I believe that my government has already cited that we are prepared to go to the extreme to make sure that we keep our people safe. So if it means that we have to give up our visa rights to the U.S. to make sure that Grenada stands behind Cuba as one of the countries that supported Grenada in thick and thin. I personally was one of the persons who graduated from Cuba University back in the days and so on. I got a scholarship to Cuba. And as such, I have a moral obligation to support the Cubans in every way. So if it means that the government of the US decided to take away our visas because we support the Cuban initiative, I would say so be it.
Yeah.
The Cuban doctors and nurses who have visited our shows over the years and perform a valuable service for our people. We complain every day that the service in the hospital is bad. But we have Grenadians who are graduated from St. George's Universities, Grenadians, and they are not here to basically support the health system. So if we can depend on the Cuban graduates to basically help the system until we can fix it to a point, I would say so be it. And I'll fully support the Cubans at any time, anywhere, because I think they are doing a very useful and human service to the government of Grenada and the people of Grenada.
Okay. While we're on healthcare, what is...
You see, I would really like to know how many times Minister Conway went back to Cuba since he left after studying on a vacation. We just took a flight and went back to Cuba on a vacation. I would really like to know. And how many Grenadians on a whole buy a ticket to Cuba for vacation. And the problem was, we didn't have to make a choice. We just had to dialogue with the Cuban government so that the service providers can get their monies in their hand and they're not treated as though it was human trafficking. That's all the US was asking. What happened in the end? After the fact, they did it. The administration, the Grenada government, they did it. Like all the others in the region. That's all they were asking. But we have a lot of big talk. Listen to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Cuba. Cuba continues to be a trustworthy friend and partner, not only of Grenada, not only of the Caribbean, but of peoples the world over. When the COVID pandemic broke out, Cuban doctors went as far as Italy to provide services. I didn't hear anybody talk about human trafficking or nothing like that. Mr. Speaker, we have not just a legal obligation, we have a moral and ethical obligation to stand by the people of Cuba. Were it not for the selfless support of Cuba, many of us would not have had the opportunities for further education that we got. On the other side, the honorable member from St. Mark, testament of that. Other table not for that. No. The renowned economist, Honorable Chotai, Brother Dennis Cornwall, and myself for a brief period. Our health infrastructure would collapse without the generous intervention of Cuba. And for that, we must always take a principled stand and at all costs avoid being opportunistic or transactional as it relates to the relationship between Cuba and Grenada. So the Prime Minister led a delegation to Cuba on an official visit, and again, a number of very important cooperation agreements were signed. Health, education, environment, culture, and so on. Mr. Speaker, going back to travel again. In 2023,
Whatever happened to these MOUs, these Memorandum of Understanding? Did they materialize? We heard nothing. Where's the culture? Who was coming when? What was coming down? And who was bringing it? And who was coming to teach us? Not a word after that. That was it. A bunch of you went down there. I believe it was about 13 of you or more. Everybody come down with their handbag full of whatever and grinning and happy as a lark. And that's it. Another start and stop of the NDC. Make as if make as if no one was asking you guys not to stand with Cuba. That was not in the making. How it is now, after you bump your gum, you still turn around and did what they asked. So why couldn't we? Why can't we just do it? Why do we have to pay big bad Johns? And then the Minister of Finance again, this time went on to the same, as a matter of fact, that same program. Another time, but the same to the point morning program. And told the world that he visited almost all of the terrorist countries in the world, soliciting funds for Project Polaris.
Okay, so we passed in the budget this loan appropriation bill, which basically authorized the government to borrow monies for its development side of the projects. For example, the roads, the buildings, and whatever infrastructural type. Because as part of the financing or funding of the budget and so on, we needed to show the populace where those monies are coming from. We talked about raising some extra monies on the stock exchange in the Eastern Caribbean.
Yes.
We also said we go after looking for funding at concessionary type loans to build our capital aspect of it. And so far, we have gone ahead and done a lot of work behind the scene. In fact, one of the major projects that we have coming up would be the hospital project, that is smart hospital project in Calivini. And so we have been on the road for the last couple of months, talking to who matters out there to basically make sure we can actually get those monies and so on. And as I mentioned earlier on, we are well on our way to get that monies. In fact, last week while I was in Vienna, I also met with the Arab Coalition group, which includes Kuwait, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and other countries, where we are basically interfacing with the institutions to see if we can raise the monies that we need to make that hospital happen. Yeah. And while we are still having a few fine tuning to go, we should be able to announce before the end of the year that we have sold the monies, and this is where we are going with it.
All right.
Lest we forget, Minister Cornwall is a CBI agent. Lest we forget, our advisor and special envoy, ambassador, advisor to the Prime Minister and the government, Ms. Andrea St. Bernard, is a CBI agent. Yeah, issuing immigrant visas. Passports, selling passports to the world. Selling passports to the world. As a matter of fact, remember the leader of government business in the Senate stood up and said, we open to the world, everybody could come, no matter where you're from, no matter your color. Come on down. You remember that? Right? So, even our Prime Minister, let's say at one point in time, quote unquote, was an agent. He removed his email from the company, right? A CBI agent. The crackdown really with this immigrant visa is mostly on CBI agents, CBI citizens, persons who got passports and applying for visas, visas. Mostly, lest we forget, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell was also a CBI agent, selling passports. Well, it is said he's not anymore. His company probably is. Just he removed his name from his email address, right? So, and this whole immigrant visa issuance there is mostly to deal with CBI, the sale of passports, and the citizens who are trying to get e-visas from America. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And we are boasting how much passports we've sold over the past 3.5 years. Doubling and tripling the amount that was sold from 2015 to 2022. This is serious business. And we had the leader of government business in the Senate stood up and said, we're open to everybody, no matter where you're from, no matter your color. Come on down to Grenada. Come and buy passports. And then we upset and carrying on as though we were handpicked. And then we have a prime minister who refuses to speak to or dialogue with the US, really. We had Navy Admiral Alvin Hosley came to Grenada. He visited. It was scheduled. The Prime Minister and Minister of National Security left the country and left him to meet with Cohen, right? The Commissioner and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I believe, and the head of security, former Commissioner William Thompson, right? And then more recently, a few weeks ago, another member of the US forces came to Grenada. I believe that one was short notice. And when the Prime Minister, it seems as though he literally hopped the plane to New York, JetBlue, right? It was on Wednesday the 10th of December. The gentleman was to arrive here and meet with them, the relevant stakeholders, which should include the Minister of National Security, right? On Thursday, the 11th, the Prime Minister kept back the flight, that JetBlue flight, 45 minutes waiting for him. He had to go. He left Grenada on Wednesday, the 10th of December 2025. The gentleman met with the same set that met with the Admiral on Thursday. On Friday afternoon, I was at the funeral. Who showed up at the funeral? Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. So he spent just the day Thursday out of the island and came back on Friday. What is he running from? Who is he hiding from? So all of that is being looked at. You are the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security. With all that's happening up to now, we near one. Now, this here came out yesterday. Breaking. Marco Rubio freezes his all foreign visa processing indefinitely from 75 countries. And Grenada is among the 75 countries. I mean, I wouldn't, most of the Caribbean islands, with the exception of Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana. Barbados is there, St. Lucia, St. Kitts. Well, the boys, the hot boys, they're all there. Antigua and Barbuda. St. Vincent is there, St. Kitts is there, you know. And then all the Brazil and Colombia and Albania, Algeria, all these Barbados is there, Brazil, you know. 75 countries, and we're there again. We jam in. Nothing in passing us. Nothing in passing us. we have to be careful. We can't let our emotions take control of us, especially when you're in office and you're leading a country. Use a little bit of emotional intelligence so that we don't end up with all these bans and all of it. You know, like it or not, we need America more than America needs us. It's a fact. And we can't run away from it. You see how all of them just bend, go down on their knees and accepting refugees? Well, we still waiting to hear whether or not we are or we are not. Not talking. He's not talking to us. But the others, all of the others, one by one, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Antigua, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, they all have accepted refugees. Let's see where we end up with that one. All for now, our Prime Minister and his government, his administration, they're muted. They're muted on the topic. We take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue from where we left off last episode. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, for those of you who did not view last week's episode of Simon Says, here's a synopsis of what we unfolded from the 2026 estimates of revenue and expenditure. What we do know for a fact. This Deacon Mitchell-led administration delivered yet another deficit budget. Their second one thus far, and anticipates, and they come in the 2026 budget, anticipated deficits for the next 3 years, 2026 to 2028. 2026 deficit, $347.4 million. We discovered hidden pockets in the document, like an item called initiatives, first time introduced in the budget to hide items or figures from the ordinary man, like me. If I just went in there and reading, I would not have known that initiatives and that they were hiding stuff in there, right? And hiding from the honest human. There were unexplained amounts, like $54.3 million under budget support, but no one could say what it's for, what those monies are for, whether they're going or they're coming. There were empty slots, empty spaces, no figures, nothing. You don't know what is missing, what should have been, but just empty spaces. We also found the $554.8 million they met in the Treasury on entering office on the 24th of June 2022 and how it is spent. We asked Ron Redhead and Andy Williams to please come to the front of the class. They are the ones who very recently, maybe a month or a couple of months ago, saying they didn't meet $500 and something million in the Treasury. Right? We found that. On the capital expenditure, 2025 estimates, $496.5 million. That's the estimate. The actual was $520.2 million spent, at $28.8 million more was spent than what was estimated. We also learned that non-tax revenues have dropped from 2020 right down to 2025 by 63.3%. And there was an overperformance, which means we were spending more than we were collecting, of 5.8, excuse me, 5.8%. We further learned that in 2025, the outturn was influenced by the receipt of excess cash from public entities that held liquidity position and higher than forecasted performances. Liquidity positions describes as the entity's ability to meet its southern financial obligations with the cash it has available or asset it can quickly convert into cash without a significant loss in value. They took the profit from those entities to help pay bills. Entities like IMA, the Airport Authority, Port Authority, Postal Corporation, NAWASA, NTRC, National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, the NTRC. Now, we have to keep a close eye on that one. That's the next one. We have to keep a close eye. Lottery, gone through, gravel and concrete, well on its way. That one, NTRC. We found out that the government have been borrowing heavily using treasury bills to raise funds, an increase of 46.9 million in 2025. We also found out that we are owing the Grenada Cooperative Bank a total of $47.2 million, subtotal $113,506,353 borrowed on a short-term basis to keep the government afloat. Our total domestic debt in 2024 was $484,196,000, and in 2025, $530.1 million. There were no figures for the outstanding claims at the Treasury. One of the left out amounts, that was one of the things not mentioned at all in the 2026 budget. The people need to know how much we owe our service providers, contractors, etc. Increase expenditure. Office of the Prime Minister, a $54 million increase. Ministry of National Security, 2025 estimates $27,289,424. The actuals $29 million and $61,605, an excess of $1,772,181. The 2026 estimate, $30 million for security services. $30 million. They still increased it. So what was estimated, $27.2 plus million, they already overspent to $39 million. So they just give themselves $30 million now for 2026, right? And we are refusing to spend an average of $18 million on the debushing, employing 6,000 to 8,000 persons year round on a rotational basis. in opposed to a handful of surrogates with $30 million. But if you listen to the Prime Minister on debushing, man, you could understand. Let's just keep the bush. Sharon.
Historically, look at the amount of money that has been allocated for debushing the journalists in Grenada. Take the estimates for the last 10 years, look at the annual allocation for debushing. In simplistic terms, you're cutting bush. Cutting bush for people who have vehicles. Because that's what you do. You're cutting bush on the side of the roads so vehicles don't get bush to scratch them.
I am still amazed by that comment. There was also the environmental wardens who clean government properties like national parks, beaches, cemeteries, etc. The Ministry of Tourism, Creative Economy and Culture, 12 million increase. Election monies disguised in those ministries. Ministry of Infrastructure, Physical Development, Public Utilities, Civil Aviation, and Transportation. Capital budget reduced by $34 million. A $34 million cut. Ministry of Infrastructure, our infrastructure is at the worst it has ever been in 40 years. And as I mentioned civil aviation, I must let you know as a people that the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Civil Aviation, is yet to meet with the staff at the airport authority. Not once since he took office that he has met with the staff of the airport authority. And he's always on the airport. I mean, leave a little early, probably one day, and take an hour and meet with the staff. All sorts of things, wrong things going on down at the MBIE that can get us into trouble. And when it happens, what are we going to say? Oh, they're treating us badly. He's not paying attention. Ministry of Health, a $42.2 million cut in health care, my friends. Only this week, I was told that by someone who had a patient in there, they got a prescription and it was for paracetamol. They had to go get paracetamol because their patient was in pain. You understand? But we cut in healthcare. Social development, a $9.4 million cut. Ministry of Housing, cut by 12 million. Ministry of Education, capital expenditure, capital investment, reduced by $23 million. But $54 million increase to the Prime Minister's ministry. More campaign funds. Ministry of Youth and Sports, budget literally cut in half. A $15.4 million cut. $30,852,379 estimated in 2025. And $15,414,254 in 2026. Literally cut in half. For details, or for more details, you can check out last week's episode on YouTube captured Same Old NDC. So we're going to continue from where we left off. Capital expenditure in agriculture reduced by $4 million. In 2025, the estimate was $14,735,256. And in 2026, the estimate is $11,133,200, a $3,602,056 cut. Our food security, my friends, are in trouble. Food security is in trouble. With the exception of watermelon, and I'm just saying that off my head, I've never seen it. Almost everything else we're importing. We're importing all our fruits and vegetables these days. Pineapples. We can't even afford bell peppers. Bell pepper can get as much as $30 for one. Tangerine, $3.80 for one. Grapes on the tray in the supermarket spoiling because it's so expensive. You have to pay $11, $12, going all the way up to in the 20s for a little tray of grapes. 7, 8 are going counting per pound. We can barely afford our own fruits like breadfruit and red bananas, much less our ground provisions, most of which is imported anyway. Our basic food basket is unaffordable. However, the cost of living, according to Minister of Finance Dennis Cornwall, our cost of living in Grenada, he says, is not high. You know, sometimes I really do believe something is wrong with that gentleman. I don't know if it's something he on, I don't know. You know, you hear all kind of stories about alcohol and because last night I heard him saying something on Facebook about what's something that is not a crime. I don't quite remember what it was now, but it's what he says, how he says it, and where he says. You know, let's hear him on our cost of living.
The CPI, which is Consumer Price Index.
Yes.
Worldwide, we're talking about 2% in CPI. In Grenada at the moment, we are less than 1%. We produced documents to show that the CPI in Grenada was about 0.6%. There are those outside who basically say that that figure is not correct. We asked them, well, give us a different angle of it, where they get the information from. So it's one thing to criticize the government based on what we produce, but you have nothing to say about where your data is coming from to produce the idea of that cost of living in Grenada is extremely high and the government is doing nothing about it and so on. Mm-hmm. So I say to those people, give us the evidence to show that cost of living is very high in Grenada, and what do you propose that we do as a government to bring it down? If you cannot do that, I will say, well, look, there is no merit in your statements. Although I believe that everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I believe in the numbers that.
So let's use the government gazetted Consumer Price Index. It was gazetted on Thursday, July the 31st, 2025. And it's for January 2010 to May 2025. And in description, we have all items, right? All items which includes cars, anything, any and everything, houses, everything. And I do believe it balanced off really, and that's what it had to be that the Minister of Finance used, which is trickery and of course deceptive. Now that, if you look at it, and we come in from May, or let's say April 2020 or May 2023, and it says 118.34, and we speaking of the weights. In May of 2024, 120.06. In May of 2025, 119.96. So all average across the board. Now, right underneath, the column right underneath in description, it says food and non-alcoholic beverages. And that is what concerns the average person and everybody, because not everybody has a car, not everybody owns a house, and the likes. So we're talking about food, everybody must eat and drink. We eat water, non-alcoholic beverage. Everybody must eat and drink. And that is from May 2023, 136.33. May 2024, 139.77. And May 2025, 141.55. It has risen steadily to where the government of Grenada, and that's up to where they got. May 2025, it has risen. The same consumer price index, the CPI you speak of, Minister Cornwall. I have it. So with you asking where we get the information from, where you sent us to look, right? And it reads here, despite the overall decrease in the index, the following groupings recorded an increase. Food and non-alcoholic beverages, 0.05%. Alcoholic beverages and tobacco, 0.06%. Furnishing, household equipment, and routine household maintenance, 0.7%. And health, 0.1%. These increases are as a result of the rise in the price of rice, which is 0.34%, pasta products, 0.16%, beef, 0.38%, poultry, 0.15%, deli meat, 0.15%, preserved fish, 0.32%, milk, 0.20%, cheese, 0.2%, edible oils, 0.36%, fresh fruits, 1.50%, frozen vegetables, 0.02%, jams and honey, 0.23%, other food products, 0.10%, fruit juices, 0.06%, rum, 0.15%, beer, 0.09%, non-durable household goods, 0.16%, and pharmaceutical, 0.1%. A steady increase in all of those. So when our Minister of Finance go on a program that is aired locally, regionally, and internationally to say that there's no increase in cost of living in Grenada, it is really laughable. And apparently, according to him, we are the model of the world. We import everything, which makes it even more expensive. But we are the model of the world. We have nothing to show for it. We have no factories. We import all our food. So inflation is high everywhere else except in Grenada. Because whenever we talk about how the cost of living is so high, what we get? Oh, it's not Grenada alone. We know that. But that's why we have an administration. That's why we hire a government to help cushion the effects for us in whatever way they can. It seems like this administration have no idea. They can't even begin to try to help us out. I mean, this level of arrogance and ignorance has to stop. This level of deception and lie cannot continue. It has to stop. We are not all fools out there. Not all of us' head is in the sand. And not all of us defend because we support particular party. Wrong is wrong and right is wrong. Is right. You don't let me say right is wrong because that's how you all behave. Wrong is wrong and right is right. Folks, if you look on your screen now, you'd see a copy of the Consumer Price Index as of May 2025 that I just went through. There are more stuff that you can go through and try and understand it. It's dated July the 31st, 2025. According to the CPI, Mr. Cornwell looked at all items on the description column to see that inflation has dropped. Now, all items, as I said, includes housing, clothing, car. I mean, the list goes on. All items, just what it says. But what you have to look for is the food and non-alcoholic beverages column that has consistently risen right up to the date provided, May of 2025. Now, according to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB Consumer Price Index for Grenada, and they got a little more. We got up to June of 2025. The inflation rate of food and non-alcoholic beverages also went up from June 2024, which was 119.87, to June 2025, 119.96. So, Mr. Cornwall, I have used your government's data to prove you wrong. What say you now? Maybe you're in denial, or is it just plain deception and lies, trickery and tomfoolery? In the meantime, on Friday, the 19th of December 2025, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the new administration, the new Democratic Party, led by Dr. Godwin Friday, they declared that day a VAT-free day. VAT was removed from all items across the board, so consumers can accommodate their Christmas shopping. I am sure a much appreciated cushion effect by the people. During the 2022 election campaign, political leader of the NDC, Deacon Mitchell, had this message for the NNP administration on items they should exempt.
We also ask that the following items be zero rated: soap powder, baby and adult diapers, sanitary napkins, toilet paper, peas and beans, bathing soap, packet rice, smoked herrings, sardines and mackerels, and salted meats like pig snout, salt beef, and pigtail. These basic items are used by all Grenadians, and they are a staple in the case of the food items in many of our diets. We are therefore calling on the government to zero rate those items for VAT. As you know, the VAT rate on these items are 15%, which is a significant percentage, and we are asking that those items be zero rated in the first instance.
Needless to say, when he became Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, in his 2023 budget presentation, Appendix 2, he listed a list of VAT exempted items that didn't include some of the ones he was asking the NNP administration to zero rate. Got a whole set of oil and peas. No, in his 2023 budget presentation, he had the items that were zero rated: soya chunk, veggie patty, oil, well, oil for soup, olive oil, canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, coconut oil. 5 different oils. Then he had kidney beans, black eyed peas, lentil peas, hand sanitizer, adult diapers, baby diapers, toothpaste, mouthwash, toilet paper, liquid soap, bath gel and hand soap, laundry soap, the bars, the liquid and the powder, and all female sanitary hygiene products, napkins, tampons, and panty shields. Funny how he did not zero rate kit rice, which he asked for, smoked herring, sardines, mackerel, salted meats, pig snout, salt beef, and pigtail. Now these days is Mr. Pigtail, and we know a man can't even get a good piece of pigtail in the oil down these days because it's too expensive. He had no meats, period, on his list. A set of oil, no rice, no sugar, no flour. The basic items, the basic food items, chicken, that people need on a day-to-day basis to feed themselves and their families. All basic food items used by all Grenadians, he said. What happened to that basket? I guess the shoes is on the other foot right now. So, I mean, just a simple thing like that. Because there are no basic food items in your list. As a set of oil, I don't know why we need 5 different oils to be zero rated. You can give us the olive oil, coconut oil maybe, right? And put in some of the things. That list has been like that since 2023 with no change. But this is what they offered us at the end of the year for in the 2026 budget. We can't say we didn't get anything, right? $10 off monthly electricity, right? The electricity subsidy, in the use of less than 99 kilowatts. So you have to use less than 99 to get $10 off. And you're getting 50% of the VAT for consumption between 99 and 150 kilowatts. And they said there as well, cooking gas is limited to $40 for 20-pound cylinder. That's been going on since between 2008 and 2013 with the Tillman Thomas-led administration. Almost 15 years ago, we've been paying $40 for the 2-pound cylinder. Now, how that reach in your cushion? The exemption list of 2013 remain the same today. You add VAT on sugar. Now it's obvious it's not helping anybody. But you still have it there. And we're still paying VAT on flour, rice, pasta, potatoes, all of the carbohydrates, and all of the meats. The NMP administration in January of 2022, in an effort to provide some relief of electricity for customers in the face of rising inflation, including electricity prices. They had a 25% off on non-fuel charge rate of electricity, and all government taxes was exempted. On the 9th of September 2022, after the 2022 elections, the Deacon Mitchell-led administration, with Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell as the line minister, discontinued the measures taken by the former administration to ease the burdens of the hike in electricity bills on the people. A mere 2 months after entering office, they also removed the $15 cap on fuel, lifting it to $17. The Prime Minister and Line Minister of Grenada said that the shareholders need their profit as well. So the nation can take the brunt of it, just so the shareholders could get a little profit. I didn't say it, he said it.
The government is not the only shareholder of Grenada. There are other small shareholders, and I don't know that a small shareholder of a company will agree to the majority shareholder running the company in such a way that the company makes a loss, and the small shareholder is deprived of the benefit of earning a profit on his investment.
And in July of 2025, Grenada announced an increase in electricity bill, a further increase to take effect in August of 2025. And all this administration can afford is a $10 off a bill if one uses less than 99 kilowatts, and a 50% of VAT reduction for the consumption between 99 and 150 kilowatts. Meanwhile, persons' bills, our electricity bills, the charges have doubled and in some cases tripled, with no compassion, whatsoever. Still in agriculture, the Minister of Finance, as he read, we strengthened the agriculture value by providing critical support on agro processors. Let's hear what he had to say.
We're strengthening the agricultural value chain by providing critical support to our agro processors through financing, targeted training, technical assistance, and the provision of modern equipment and opportunities to scale up their businesses. Mr. Speaker, the opening of the agro processing plant at La Colombe in the first quarter of next year will provide a significant boost to the sector. To revitalize the livestock subsector, we successfully implemented breed of pigs, sheep, and goat to bolster national breeding stock and set the stage for the development of a locally hybrid animal towards greater self-sufficiency and sustainability in meat production.
You know, when I heard of the agro processing plant, I thought it was a good thing. And I said, yes, they get something right. They on their own. Well, let me not say that it's on their own. I'm not sure if it was in the pipeline before, but I've never heard of it. And but something has to be wrong. And the only thing I can, well, the other day I say I don't believe in Obia, but it had to be Obia. But you know, it all boils down to God don't like ugly. To back that up, to back up what the Minister of Finance just presented there in the Parliament in his 2026 budget presentation. 2026 budget, that's a few weeks ago. Here is a clip to show the progress of the processing plant. Once again.
I'm Kamira Phillip. I am representing Selective Engineering Company Limited. We have been engaged on this project to complete the earthworks, the retaining walls, and concrete pavings. We're looking at approximately 4 months for completion. Currently, we have 5 persons, individuals on the site, but we also have some others working, fabricating steel and preparing formwork off-site. So we'll estimate at this point in time 8 to 10 persons. We're always excited about being engaged when it comes to nation building, positive projects that affect communities, Grenadians and Grenada as a whole. So we look at this as something positive and we're very excited to be involved.
So I'm Owen Henry, the Chief Analytical Chemist, Produce Chemist Laboratory, Ministry of Agriculture. We are at the agro-processing facility, which is being currently renovated. Here, the first phase of this project, it involves doing civil works, mainly retaining wall drainage, backfilling. So this phase here, which started in January, currently the contractor have been engaged to construct the retaining walls to the back, the drainage, and to backfill the front in order to put parking. What we'll see here is that currently there is no drainage, and whenever it rains, we realize that a lot of water is coming into the building. So we are rectifying the problem because we want to ensure that the facility is properly built and suited for its proposed function. So this facility, as we know, it will be housing a new agro-processing production facility. It will be a shared facility where persons who want to get into agro-processing and who are already in agro-processing can utilize a state-of-the-art facility for their production. Our government is investing in value addition in agro-processing to ensure that products, when they are produced, they are produced to market standard. So one of the constraints currently with agro-processors is that they don't have state-of-the-art facilities for producing, and most of them are engaged, some of them using their kitchens and probably small spaces in the house, and this is not the ideal situation. So the intended purpose is to have this shared facility where persons can come in and do their production. It will be properly equipped with state-of-the-art technology, and persons can come and use it, obviously for a small fee. And once they utilize the facility, they do their production, they package their stuff, they go home, someone else can come in and so forth. So it will be shared and it will be rotational.
State of the art, right? You heard him. State of the art equipment, state of the art building. Yes, indeed. Something that I thought, well, yes, we're getting somewhere. Added value to our agricultural products and employing people or people we're going to be self-employed, making a little time and ball on their fudge and whatever else, jams and jellies, maybe. Nice, nice. First quarter of 2026, that is between January and March, the opening of that facility. By now, you all can agree that the hallmark of the NDC administration is to start and stop. So the work had stopped for a while, leaving an unfinished project, and the Lacalome processing plant was no different. Abandoned, broken into, looted, and left in a dilapidated state. Another failed project. Haven't even got it started, but has failed. Here is what is left of that plant.
I guess this is what all the money was for. I have a little wall here. They dig up here and they build this big wall here with this drain. Right. Connect here. They put a wall to the back, it looks like. And they connect here. You still can't get access to the property because they ain't covered here and they ain't do no driveway yet. All they did was build this big ass wall right around the yard. And basically there's no work going on again. Look like work done. Right on the driveway, which is a driveway to no door. That's the most ridiculous thing I see. Watch our driveway, a driveway pitch. And watch where the doors are. There's a big door, right, to get inside with all the equipment and then watch where it is. It is on this side and they put a big wall in front of it. And then you have the two small doors there and the driveway going to the side of the building. And of course the building in a mess now because it looked like if people break into the building through the windows, right, and got the windows wide open. So basically, so this is a building that's supposed to be ready in March, right? And the other thing, watch the front of the building. All the water from the roof dropping straight on the ground here. There are no preparation for drainage, nothing. So the water are going in the drain. Yeah, drain now. Quite on the side over there. Well, yeah, no means for the water to go in the drain. I never seen madness so in my life. But that's what I want. So, of course, all the building windows break up. You could just go straight inside. There's still no electricity, no plumbing, nothing in the building. This was a little area in the back here. See, everything mashed up. Alright. See? Everything mashed up. Alright. And then they build this big wall all the way in the back here, going right around the building. Right? don't know for what. And look at the same existing drain that was there, it's still there. They ain't really do nothing to it. All the roof of the building rotten. All the gutter and everything. No repairs to that. Right? Everything. Yeah, big. But it looked like if somebody, like they either stripping down the building or doing something, because look at what's happening inside here. Because all the windows out and everything being stripped down. Right? This is a building that's supposed to be ready for the agro-processing center. That's supposed to start. Watch, all inside here wet. Right? Look how it's a mold on drywall and all.
You see for yourself. Now, $30 million was estimated for security purposes in 2026. They spent $29 million in 2025. Right? And you have a project, plant, and you left it unsecured and unattended. Look at the state. Money spent already for your state-of-the-art building and state-of-the-art equipment. Where is it? To open in March. And they love to give themselves timelines and deadlines that they cannot keep. It's a shame. I have never seen, I don't even understand what happened there. No, please excuse the voice modification, but not everybody brave enough to speak out. And of course, in some cases, to save their jobs and their family, members of their families' jobs, they have to hide themselves, they've changed their voices and all of that. And it was clear enough you could understand and you can see what happened there. But if you think that was bad, check this out. Mr. Speaker, to revitalize the livestock subsector, we successfully imported breeds of pigs, sheep, and goats to bolster our national breeding stock and set the stage for the development of locally bred hybrid animals towards greater self-sufficiency and sustainability in meat production. Let's hear Minister Lennox Andrew at the airport where they went to receive the animals.
Government's bold step towards drastically reducing the country's food import bill was evident Saturday night as Grenada welcomed 460 live animals, sheep, pigs and goats at the Maurice Bishop International Airport. Citing the economic value of this investment, Minister for Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Marine Resources, Lennox Andrew, said this is one of the largest investments government has made and wants people to see the long-term benefits.
From an economic perspective, this project has the potential to transform the livestock sector into a robust contributor to our national economy. Enhanced breeding practices and increased productivity will reduce our dependence on costly imports of meat and dairy products, retain valuable foreign exchange.
The shipment of the animals falls under Component 4 of the World Bank's Food Security Enhancement Project. Renee Strickland, the livestock importer, played a pivotal role in the selection and care of the animals and getting them safely to Grenada.
This is a big project. It took us quite a few months working together on this. and we had some people from the ministry come over to the United States and help select these animals. They come from 10 different states in the United States. We've got dairy goats, we have meat goats, we have meat sheep and dairy sheep. We have 322 head of sheep and goats, and we have 144 head of pigs of 4 different breeds, 4 breeds of sheep, 4 breeds of goats, and we got them isolated, tested. It got trucked all the way from Ohio into Miami. We got them in the crates this morning. We got them loaded on the aircraft, and after many months of work, here we are.
75 farmers have been shortlisted to receive animals. However, before they are distributed, the animals must be quarantined for 6 weeks in order to adapt to their new environment. The animals are being housed at 3 locations: Lawrence St. David, Maribor St. Andrew, and in Sater St. Patrick. Nugent Bernard said facilities at those locations were upgraded to an acceptable standard to accommodate the animals.
So all 3 sites, they were not 100% as how we would want them to accommodate for ease of management and for the health of the animals. So we would have had to get contractors to come in, see the facility, and then for us to make the necessary changes in terms of making sure that water equipment are okay, feeding trucks are okay. And we are at this that we would like farmers to benefit directly from this program. But as it is now, the animal has to go into quarantine for 6 weeks. And after the animals are quarantined, then our main interest is breeding and multiplying these animals so that we can put farmers in a better position for receiving the animals. But again, this animal will come to the farmer based on a criteria that have already been set.
It was further reiterated at the welcoming ceremony that the imported animals are not for consumption, but rather reproduction. Christina John, GBN News.
Thank you, Christina. Compliments GBN. 3 million EC dollars was spent to purchase these animals. They arrived on December the 21st, 2024, just over a year ago. Sure enough, the animals landed at Morris Bishop International Airport. As you heard the gentleman, they had to spend further money to prepare the areas where the animals were going to be held, right? The animals were met by the Minister of Agriculture and other members of cabinet. Big show, big show. As you heard, the animals were not for consumption, but was for reproduction. Now take a look on your screen, folks. You had a good stomach to watch this. Good stomach. Take a look on your screen. The pigs are dying. The pigs are dying. I think one died already from when I got the photos there. Another one was dying almost. The one that died, they took it, they put it in the freezer. But the Ministry of Health did not pass it for consumption. They were going to try and slaughter 3 out of the 5, so that, well, out of the 4, so that they don't get thrown away, right? They were at the, they were sent to the Maribor farm to be slaughtered. Though they are not of slaughtering standards, because just look at them. Just look at the animals. Just look at them. To quote one of the workers, they cannot walk to their death. They smell, as you can see, looking at the photos. They have sores. They have abscesses all over their bodies. They are obese, too big and overweight to move around. So they just lie down. They got bed sores. Veterinary doctors have seen them. They were highly medicated. They are dying. So they were trying to slaughter 3. Just look at that. However, we were saved by the Ministry of Health. After inspection, they are now removing them from storage, I think even as we speak, to burn in the incinerator at the abattoir. They have to kill them, and they cannot be eaten. Now, from what I understand, and I would get you the figure, the exact figure, and bring it to you. But the pigs alone, from what I understand, well over $250,000. I also heard that there was only 5 pigs. There were only 5 pigs, and when they were distributing, it showed like people were getting like a pair. I also understand that was just for show. The people, well, I know their own people. They set them up. You come and let's do this. It's a photo op. Ridiculously priced these pigs. For one, I wouldn't even repeat what I heard. I'm going to get the correct figure, and I'm going to tell you what it costs. It had to be cost. And I will be that cost. The pigs died. Well, what died, and what they couldn't, they just, instead of leaving them to suffer, you can't eat them, they had to burn them. It's a shame. You see big fanfare at the airport to meet the animals. It was a big thing. You heard the minister. The most amount of money this administration spent on any project, like their own initiative, their project. We continue the budget. So capital projects across the sector had a $126 million cut. $126 million cut. If you go back to page 9, look at the capital expenditure in 2025. Approved estimates was a $496.5 million. They overspent. The actual was $520.2 million. Overspent by a $23.7 million. But in 2026, they cut the estimates to $370.4 million. $126 million cut. $126 million cut. Again, that's not matching. Now, here are my concerns when it comes to government spending. 23.8 million purportedly spent on housing. And I said purportedly spent on housing in 2025. According to the Minister of Housing, capital expenditure by project, grand total, which includes a soft loan housing project, the 2025 approved estimate was $2 million. And they spent $2,666,667. Grenada Home Improvement Resilient Project, approved estimate $13 million. The actual spent $16,182,000 $847. And Project 500 approved estimate $10 million. And they only spent $5 million. Now, approximately 17 million was spent on Project 500 over the past 2 years. 2023, 3 million, 2024, 9 million, and 2025, 5 million. Now, what we know about Project 500, there are 17 pilot prefab houses at the Dunfermline in St. Andrew being built at the moment. Is the government telling us that each prefab pilot house is costing the people $1 million? We have to ask the project sponsor, Mr. Randy Dollar, the Minister for Housing, Santiglo, and the Prime Minister of Grenada. The real question is, where did the $17 million go? Certainly not at Dunfermline. Now let's move to Beryl Relief, aka the Build Back Better project. 215 million spent. We were told 3,018 houses were lost/damaged in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. 3,018 houses. And only 43 Build Back Better houses by the government of Grenada can be accounted for. Where are the other houses? Or where was that money allocated, spent? This one is even better than Project 500. If you do the math, according to the figure they gave us, each Build Back Better house cost the people $5 million for one. Hello? Look at some of what we got for Build Back Better houses. If you look on the screen, houses without windows. And this is, I can't send you all the botched houses that we have. But that is basically, look at it, without windows, without doors. How much does these Build Back Better houses cost? Like one of those without windows, without doors, a house that look as if it's been through Janet, Ivan, and Beryl already. No paint, it's just the condition. They have people living in no bathroom and toilet. Look at the others, just look. But they're people, they're surrogates, persons who are involved in the communities, in the housing projects. What they call them, community development officers, or something like that. Take a look at the gentleman for the town of St. George, perching on the hill. The view, magnificent. That's on the hill, on the Old Fort Road, on the hill right there. It has happened in Carriacou and elsewhere as well. Persons who never had house line up for house, and they could afford it. They have their land and they could afford it. But they are surrogates. They are activists. of the NDC. So they're getting house. Well built. That is the build back house belonging to the NDC housing coordinator for the town of St. George. Cute that. And of course, you realize he must have built it so he could do a downstairs, I guess soon enough, to bring in a little income in, and a free house. Room for expansion downstairs. As I said, and a view, an impeccable view. But yet still, there's a young lady messaging me in my inbox, asking me to speak to Sister Gloria Thomas through Simon Says. She's begging. She's been to her, begging for her. She's homeless with 2 children, 7 and 9, a boy and a girl. She had a place rented. She was paying $800. She lost her job. She's a single parent. So she lost that. She doesn't have a home. She's bunking by wherever. She got a bunk with her 2 children. She went to Sister Gloria and she said to her, they don't have any material to give out now anymore. Sister Gloria is not just her only her the Minister of Housing. She is her representative as well. She is her representative as well. Is that putting people first? Or is putting self first? Again, foot and mouth disease. Words and actions not matching. It seems like it's rough, this wrong. And the NDC members or cabinet members, their friends, their family, their advisors, supporters, surrogates, and their friends and families are the ones benefiting. And the ordinary man who needs the house, the people we're supposed to put first, they are left homeless. They are left begging with no help. Moving along. $22 million spent on the new hospital, according to the budget statement. Construction of new medical and teaching hospital, phase 1. What is your question? Which new hospital? Which new hospital? Project Polaris? According to the document, 22 million spent in 2025. Now, the Ministry of Implementation, or the Minister of Implementation rather, Andy Williams, when asked about the $22 million on the Lie Along program, this is what he had to say. Well, you know, I can't pull clips from there. So I'm going to read it to you. It's a bit long, but I have to. So let me say this, Junior, right? Because sometimes we look at things so complicated. I have a philosophy that everything is simple. It's simple. And how the government runs, you can use example from your life. Doesn't make sense, but I'm reading it. So when you build a house, let me ask you a question, right? You start to incur expenses when you start to lay the blocks? No. You start to incur expenses at the planning stages. The host. Exactly. You understand so, and this is Mr. Minister of Implementation again. You understand? So before construction begins, we must confirm the site, the design, project scope, right? And make sure that they are suitable. We have to do environmental impact assessment. We have to do geothermal soil testing. We have to do utility and site survey. We have to do costing. Something, I couldn't figure out what he said. Studies, studies. You have to do conceptual design. You have to do detailed architectural design. You have to do structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering. You have to do medical facility layout and planning to meet international standards. You have to get plan approved, environmental clearance, building permits, compliance with health, safety, and medical standards. You have to hire project managers, consultants, specialists. You have to prepare and tender documents for contractors, set up sites to ensure transparency and value for money. All these things has to be done and on a project of that magnitude. You cannot want to build a project or to build a hospital of $250 million US. Come on, man. So when you have people, and that's where I got offended. I get offended sometimes because when you have people who knows better to fool the Grenadian people like that, it offends me because what he's trying to say is that you want to keep your people in a box. You hear how much things the minister say has to be done before you could even lay a brick, right? And I guess he's saying things so they can justify the spending of $22 million, right? First of all, why does asking a simple question as what was the $22 million spent on is keeping your people in a box? It's a question. The people have the right to ask how their money is spent. And if they can't see value for money, they have to ask where the money went. What happened to the money? But at last, the Minister Andy Williams now got the memo that there are pre-work, things that are done before the project actually begins. Listen to him here. On the CRIF project, the UK SIF, the UK SIF project.
When we came in office, there was a project called UK SIF. The UK SIF project was dated since 2016. We got a grant of approximately $80 million. Is equivalent now to our current account surplus. $80 million. Since 2016, Mr. Speaker, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, nothing was done. So what happened? The UK took back the funds. Mr. Speaker, thanks to our Prime Minister, we got it back. And Mr. Speaker, sometimes the other side are so deceiving, because they will go and pretend and make people believe that it was we who lost the funds. When it was stated that because we did not use the funds and the UK was unsure of their situation, they took it back. Now, Mr. Speaker, we got back the funds from the UK CIF. And in only just over a year, we are now preparing to do infrastructure works that will involve digging up the road from the St. George's area to as far as Moy Bishop International Airport. And Mr. Speaker, we anticipate that the main roads will be disrupted. So what do we do as a Cairn government and as a government of vision? Mr. Speaker, we started to work on the Gulf Coast bypass roads. So that in the event, Mr. Speaker, that the main roads are disrupted, people can deviate and use the alternative roads to traverse and to go where they want to go. Mr. Speaker, these road projects are just a few examples of a tangible progress we are making in the constituency of St. George South.
Now, we've been through this over and over again. We know there was COVID-19. We also know that before COVID-19, that according to the CDB website, that initial work had started. What was needed to be done was done. The status, and we have here in November 2016, the technical assistance grant to prepare capital project approved. In 2017, we had consultants engaged to prepare the feasibility design and the detailed designs. The writing is very small and it's fading. I had this here for a while. We dealt with it so many times, right? And then in 2019, we had the project approval of capital project, right? So things was happening. And then, of course, COVID-19 came and brought us right up to 2022 when NDC came into office. But nothing was done, and all these things that he listed in that was done. I mean, I've never heard things so in my life, right? But he have to do it to defend the $22 million they say they spent on Project Polaris. I have said to him in his face on air, on my program, time and time again, that there are processes and procedures. You hear him? We don't just get up and lay bricks. We know that. So you don't just get up and dig the road and lay pipes. It was done, and then we had COVID, and then you came in 2022. So it was your duty to take it from there. But I'm searching for a clip, and I'm going to find it, where this same minister said that they lost the money because the UK had financial problems, and they were not sure they were going to be able to give them the grant at all. But they were able to give them 70 million and not the 80 million that they had promised. It was because of financial problems, right? I'm going to get the clip. They lie, they deceive, they make up stories as they go along. There's also a clip where the other day, when the Prime Minister said it was because of the Minister of Implementation, it got back the $70 million. Which is it? Which is it? But I want to play you a clip where I'm telling this guy, the same one that talk about all kind of feasibility and all kind of study and all kind of stuff that needs to be done, where I was telling him that there are processes and procedures.
Minister, you speak often of the UK CIF and the GRIP, the UK CIF the World Bank one, the Caribbean Development Bank one, and that the former administration did nothing for 6 years. And you also know that that is misleading nations. The GRIP program, for instance, the approval came on the 17th of June 2022. That's a few days before the elections, right? The UK SIF program, it started in 2016, where the government of Grenada was already engaged in the CDP, and that is on their website right up to 2019. Right up to 2019, and then there was the COVID, and then the elections. So when you do these things and say these things, I have documents here to show.
Can I respond?
Of the website. So that is misleading.
Can I respond?
Please do.
Let's go. The UK SIF project in 2015, the Prime Minister of England, Dave Cameron, UK, he visited Grenada. In 2016, he provided a grant for Grenada, $80 million. $10 million was to construct the Western Main Road, and $70 million was to do the UK SIF, which is the Southern Water Expansion Project. Now, the Western Main Road had problems because of the Modena landslip, so that was delayed. The UK SIF project, nothing was done. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting, myself and the Minister of Finance, with representatives from the UK in October of 2022. And it was said that because the UK were going through they were uncertain about the economic situation, they were going to pull back the grant of $80 million from us. They went ahead and took it back. Okay. 2023, we fought and we got it back. We announced when we got it back. But let's look at the timeline, because, I want to really spend some time, spend some time this morning, because I want to educate. I don't get a chance to educate much, and I want to educate now. So when we got back the grant in 2023, it took us 2 years, 23, 24, 25, 2 years. And now we are talking about implementing that same UK SIF Southern Water Expansion Project, right? Now, if you say, let's count again, if you say that 2016, you agree that we got a grant in 2016 from the UK. Now, 2022, nothing was implemented. Let's go. Now let's watch rate of implementation. We got back in 2023. And 2025, we are not looking to start until lay pipes. 2016, add 2 years to that, 2018, COVID was 2020. So I'm saying to you, Ms. Jenny Simon, respectfully, that the previous administration had all the chance to implement the project. COVID was 2020, and look at it, 2016 to 2020 is 4 years. Yeah. Hold on, I'll listen to you speak, I'll see if I can speak. So listen to me speak now. 2016 to 2020 is 4 years. 2023 to 2025 is 2 years. So we are implementing in 2 years what the previous administration could not implement in 4 years, even before COVID. I'm not counting even after COVID. Let's go again. We are speaking about the GRIP project now. Well, you asked some questions, and I want to answer your questions. I don't want to skip because you said on GBN, you said that you was cut off on GBN, and I did not answer the question on GBN. So I want to make sure that I answer your question in full.
Can I deal with
GRIP? No. You spoke about GRIP. Let's talk about GRIP. I want to answer your question. Permit me to answer your question. I don't want you to leave from me and say that Andy did not answer your question. So let's go to the GRIP project now, right? The GRIP project, yes, you had the date correct. Now, I never said that the GRIP project was under the previous administration. I said that my ministry was able to move the project. It was under the Ministry of Infrastructure, and it was moved to the Ministry of MIT. Now we are talking about implementation. Right? In October, we will be doing over the Baltazar Bridge, and also we will be tackling the coastal areas of Soubise and Marquis under the GRIP project. So to say that, it's under don't mislead. I'm just speaking the fact.
Yeah, but hold on. Yeah, but Sister Jenny, hold on. Wait, no, but you have to wait. This is not a political debate. I'm saying to you, this is the National Democratic Congress press conference.
Before implementation, there are processes, and that is what happened.
Hold on, kindly, please.
In 16,
Sister Jenny, you have your platform. You can go and talk there.
You just implement.
Sister Jenny, you have your platform. You can go and speak there.
The pipes are laid.
Listen, could
there
we
are
cut this mic,
processes.
please? Could we cut this mic, please? Sister Jenny, is either a stop or just calm yourself. You'll get an opportunity to ask another question.
Well, first of all, I'm looking for the clip, and I have the clip. Did you hear Andy Williams say that they lost the monies because the UK was going through financial problems? Right there. The first clip I played where he was in the parliament, he said it's because nothing was done. And that clip, he said it was because the UK was going through financial problems, and so they were not sure. Did you hear that there? I was shocked for myself because I didn't even realize that is when he said it. I knew I heard him say it before. Right. That's one thing. For the GRIP program, what did he say? They were going to redo the Baltazar Bridge in October 2025. The Baltazar Bridge. Anybody in St. Andrew? I haven't been that way in a long time. I haven't passed that side in a long time. Can somebody or bodies let me know if the Baltazar Bridge was done over? It was done over. But that point I wanted to drive home with that clip was that the time before, he don't want to hear what process is. No, it was implementation, minutes of implementation, and he implemented. He gave us a whole chapter on what was done with the 22 million for Project Polaris. But where are the designs? At least with the CDB projects, we can they are showing what was done. The same one here with the GRIP. In 2017, October 2017, what was done? In October 2021, what was done? Right? They're showing that. And the UK SIF one, right? Where are the designs? Where are the drawings you speak of, Andy Williams? Where is the environmental impact assessment study? Who did it? Tell us about the costing. Who are the project consultants and the specialists you spoke of that we are paying or have paid because the 22 million was spent? Who did the $22 million go to? Not even the brush, please. Not even the trees in the area was cut. Not no the bushing done. Nothing. Up to now, NDC have no idea how they're getting funding for Project Polaris. What is the overall cost of the project? We have not heard Project Polaris, because this 250 million US dollars is, talk about it, that is a drop in the bucket when you look at the magnitude of that project. That is just to build the walls of the hospital, the actual hospital, and not equip it and staff it. What is the overall cost of Project Polaris? We were never told. But you're talking about designs. More deception and more lies. and now unleashing the blue economy. A project that was budgeted for in 2025, $1.5 million, with an actual expenditure of $13 million. Listen to me carefully. In 2025, it was budgeted $1.5 million, and they spent $13 million, an overrun of more than 848%, with no evidence of what has been done since the budget. What? However, there was what we call a highfalutin launch of the blue economy. Take a look. Take a look.
Ministry of the Blue Economy and Marine Affairs, and other permanent secretaries represented here today. Ambassador Jerry Vino, Special Envoy for Oceans.
Our seas and coasts have always shaped the way we are. They have carried our traders, our fishermen, fed our families, and connected us with the wider world. Today we are called to see the ocean not as our heritage, but as a foundation for a modern, sustainable economy, one that creates jobs, drives innovation, protects the natural system on which we all depend.
So it is a profound honor to address you today on the occasion of the official launch of the Ministry of the Blue Economy and Marine Affairs. This is the introduction of a new government entity and represents the beginning of a bold national investment and movement to chart a new course for how Grenada engages with its most abundant and powerful resource, ocean.
Highfalutin indeed. The Deacon Mitchell-led NDC way. They're very good at that. Launch of the Ministry of the Blue Economy aboard the ecstasy. All these monies unaccounted for, all these wastage that we've had, and our 2026 budget loan authorization bill 2025 has passed. They passed a loan authorization bill. Now, under Karine James's ministry, under Karine James's ministry of climate resilience and the environment and renewable energy, in the 2025 approved estimates, $300,000 was spent on solar street lighting. But $941,252 was spent on solar lighting in St. John's. $941,252 was spent on solar lighting in St. John's. Right? So 300,000 was estimated in 2025. And we use up $941,252. Ms. James and her ministry spent three times more than what was budgeted for solar light. Not only the streets of St. John's light up, with that kind of money, boyfriend pocket light up too. The bank, the account in the bank light up as well. Now, is it true? And you see, I don't normally get into this thing so personal, but when you see you bounce up on something so 3 times as much you spend on well, let me tell you, when you're going across the western corridor, if it's one thing you could see where the money go. Every six is like social distance in the light. Every 6 feet is a light, is a solar light. Why? All you're asking, why? Is it true the minister's boyfriend is a partner in the solar light company, C&K Trading? The main man, this partner thing, is a joke. Call you. Give us the answer. Why? Why 3 times as much money was spent on solar lights in St. John? Oliver Gary? 3 times as much money spent. Yet still, another 300,000 is estimated for the 2026 budget. And a further 198,000 already for 2027. And John will be bright for so. What you good with? Let's wrap up this with our beloved Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. He has done it again. He overspent by 45% on his travel budget, a $700,000 overspent on his travel budget. But are we surprised? The gentleman never slowed down in his travel. You know they're calling him the Grenada dove. I don't think the Grenada dove does fly so. They like to stay in their sanctuary. Just fly around Grenada. But they stay in their sanctuary, wherever that is. Right outside by me here, they have a sanctuary. And you see them, they cover the tree. In the late afternoon, it's the evening, it's covered. They're there. They're not flying away. Folks, this is serious. And we continue to go down that road with the NDC. Now they don't even have the money to spend. And you can tell by the state of the infrastructure of the country, the projects, the start and stop. They're starting everything just to tick a box, to say, yes, we did that. We promised we would, and we're doing it. 2 weeks later, it stopped. It stopped for good. Years later, it's still there. Look at the state of the agro-processing plant. Look at the pigs. Look at the pigs. They have to burn them to death. Can't eat them. Although they said they were not to slaughter, they were to reproduce. But when they saw things looking bad, water more than flour, they tried to see if they could still get something out of it. Sell the meat, kill them, slaughter them, and sell the meat. The Ministry of Health couldn't okay that. But if you look at the animals, I mean, how you want to kill that and sell it for people to eat? I have to tell you that I had in mind to do, and it's prepared, the gravel and concrete update that I promised you in the new year. It's ready and ready to roll out. But of course, we run out of time. So bet your dollar, I want to say your bottom dollar, that we'll begin with gravel and concrete in our next episode. Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, trying to keep them honest. Thank you for viewing yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place, where facts come first. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.